Very cool. I just love having a library. Not that I have a library, but like I love having like shelves full of books. And like over the course of my almost 45 years on this planet, I've acquired a few books here and there. So like I like being able to look back and be like, oh yeah, that's a good book. And then sometimes I look and be like, I don't remember buying that or reading that. Maybe I just put that in a recycle bin. That one's fine.
We have a little library in front of our house. It's not in front of our house, like it's off to the side a little bit, so you wouldn't necessarily know it's our library, but it's, but like between myself and my mom, like major pride in taking care of that thing and making sure it's well stocked, and like we go by and check it every day, and then when someone drops off a bunch of old textbooks from the 1970s, we make sure we take them out, and the bottom shelf is all kids, and I put like Happy Meal toys in there when the kids get them and they don't keep the toys. So I like it's super fun. So I would encourage you to find a little library to put your not going to read them again books.
You should slip a copy of Samuel L. Jackson's Go the F to Sleep in there in the kids section just for fun, just to see what happens.
You know what? I wouldn't if I have one of those, but I wouldn't want to part with it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Random But Memorable. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how security shows up in real life, not just in systems and settings, but in our wallets, in our homes, and in our families. First, we'll be talking about the risks that face everyday crypto holders. So if you're a cryptocurrency holder, this is going to be perfect for you. In Crash Course, we're going to be talking about how AI is starting to plug into the tools all around us. And later in the show, we'll be having a really important conversation with Will from Childnet about kids, families, and using AI safely. There's a lot to get through today. So, Rue, did you want to take it away with Watchtower?
Absolutely. Yes, let's dive into some Watchtower Weekly, where we unpack the latest trends in cybersecurity and privacy. This week, we're talking about a worrying shift in the crypto space, not just digital scams, but real-world attacks against everyday crypto holders. People are being targeted both by sophisticated online fraud, physical thefts, even kidnappings. These stories are showing us that crypto security isn't just about the wallets and the private keys anymore. It is about physical safety, too. So before we dig in, do either of you have a crypto wallet? Is anyone here a crypto holder, or do you maybe not want to say for fear of safety here?
Well, when I saw kidnappings, my first thought was I better not say anything, but actually I don't. This is something, though, that I'd like to learn more about. Like, I feel like, because, the system out there seems a little unstable from time to time. And I feel like maybe I should be checking out crypto and understanding it more. I remember Lisa, who used to work here at 1Password, did a great blog post all about it. And I felt smarter reading that. But like that was got to be a decade ago. So now I'm like, I feel like I should be doing more, but I can't. Yeah. So I need to, but I don't.
Being on the cutting edge of cyber, I'm surprised I haven't dove into crypto yet. So I have none. I have always thought about it, and I've read enough books to understand how it works and what it's used for and how it's used, but just never have made the plunge ever. I don't know. It still feels a little bit like gambling to me. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to do it. Like, I'd just rather put it in a high interest savings account.
It's the weird crypto ATM machines that I see at a variety store when I'm in downtown Toronto. And I'm like, I don't know if that, like, there's something about a crypto ATM machine that just, okay, not legitimate. It's like a lottery ticket now. I can move along. So I don't know. What about you, Rue?
No, same. I am very risk averse, and so I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this. It's might be fine. It's probably fine. Seems like it's been fine for a while, but also I'm sort of like Wade, where I'm like, it feels like gambling. I don't like this. This doesn't feel right. I'd rather have something that's backed by a traditional currency system.
Something you can put under a mattress.
Something I can put under a mattress. That's right. Yes. All right, well, let's talk about what's happening on the digital side. So blockchain analytics firm Elliptic released a report looking at the state of crypto scams in 2025. The company found that crypto scams aren't just continuing, they're evolving. So scammers are using AI-enabled deepfakes, no surprise there, to impersonate trusted figures or service providers. And there's a growing trend where the attackers pretend to be romantically interested in their victims. These hackers then manipulate their target into sending funds or investing in a scam. This sounds very, pretty cut from the same cloth as scams tend to be. Most of the stuff is conducted online. For the attacker, it's just more convenient, allows them to pursue multiple targets simultaneously. It doesn't mean that the crypto threats aren't leaking into the physical world, though. A lot of the recent stories around this are proving that threats are moving into the physical space. And a recent report from Bloomberg that covers that organized criminal groups in the U.S. and Europe have been targeting small crypto holders physically through home invasions, armed robberies, kidnappings. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, we should say that while this is a growing trend, these physical attacks are still likely a minority of crypto-related thefts. And none of the hosts on this show have crypto, so it's just not worth even coming after us. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Although some of these cases are pretty wild. Thieves are bypassing, of course, like the traditional SIM swapping or digital hacks entirely instead of forcing victims at gunpoint to hand over their devices or access passwords or private keys, all that kind of stuff, right? So the kind of a $5 wrench attack where it's forced to use to make someone surrender keys. It has even been documented alongside abductions aimed at extracting wallet credentials, right? Historically, the likelihood of cybercriminals tracking you down in real life is fairly low. It's simply too expensive and too time-consuming, particularly when hackers can send out mass emails, like Rue said, or phishing you by phone calls, text messages, that sort of stuff. However, the rewards do seem worth a little extra investment. In the actual cyber community, we actually call this violence as a service, where someone pays someone to go out and do violence to someone in order to steal this, which we have seen. Are either of you shocked by this at all? No, right?
I mean, yes and no. Like, yes, in that it feels niche still, and maybe this is again just part of my like worldview of crypto, but like this just, it feels like such a niche thing for criminals to be going after that I'm just kind of surprised that this is happening in this way.
So I think with all of this talk about crypto and everything, I think part of it comes back to, how we've designed 1Password as zero knowledge. Like you could come over to my house and say, I want this guy's password. And I don't know. Like there's just no way for me to get it. So we've designed the product to be a zero knowledge thing for physical security as well as personal security. Like we're just not a company that has the information. So it makes us less of a honeypot because we don't have that kind of information, which honeypot's a fun term. Where you try to tempt people to come and steal stuff because it's a place where you get all the details, which is why it's really important when you're online and looking at all those credentials, you're making sure that the people you're giving them to are being safe with them. But I think the idea around this whole discussion is around physical security as well. Do you think a lot of folks think about physical security and, that aspect of, keeping themselves safe, not just online, but also like how it ties back into their home life, back in the physical world?
Again, like I worry that I'm maybe too, this world is too opaque to me, but like I very much think of it as online only. Like this would be that the risks around this would be centered to my digital life, that it wouldn't come full circle to the physical world here.
All right. When I got into cybersecurity, one of the first things my dad told me was, are you going to buy protection? And I was like, why? It's cybersecurity. He's like, yeah, but you're fighting cyber criminals, and cyber criminals don't like it when they can't make money. And he right off the bat went to physical, and I did not. One thing with most cyber professionals, there's a term called operational security, which is like how much information about you is out there on the internet and how can I limit that as much as possible. Me being a little bit of a public figure, there's a lot of information out there on me and it's not too hard to find, but there are best practices in doing this, right? So like we're talking about crypto wallets. You shouldn't go around telling people you have crypto. That's the first thing, right? And when you make transactions, you should probably do it in a safe manner where people can't track you as much as possible, even though it is on a blockchain. There's other stuff like making sure your phone number isn't out there or requesting information to be taken down off the internet or your address and that type of stuff. I think about that quite a lot. I have several services that are taking away doing that operational security for me in order to limit the blast radius of information. I also do think about physical security. I have like home alarm system. I have electronic locks, which probably isn't the best, thinking about the hacker side of it, but I do have like cameras and stuff like that too. So it is a thought. it goes back to like what Rue said, right? It's what type of risk do you have, right? Even if I have a lock, right, it doesn't take much to kick a door down. That's the scary part. So how do you judge that and keep your family safe? Yeah, a little scary. I definitely agree with you, Sarah.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those where you don't, you fill out your warranty card for your new Dyson vacuum. You don't think, you don't think that could also turn around and end up in a database that ends up somewhere, and, how it all ties together. And, I think it's just, again, one of those where, the old adage of pause, take a breath, think about something before you do it. Don't just, when you're at like any retailer and they're like, hey, do you have your email on file? What's your phone number? Let's register you for a points account, like all of that. Like, it's okay to take a breath and, consider, do I need to give this person or this organization my details? Do I need to do that? And I think that's the important thing for all of us to take home is just, when you're online or in person, really think about what it is you're giving someone when they're asking for that information.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people think about crypto as a way to transact anonymously. Criminals are clearly finding ways to link these digital wallets to real people and then figuring out where those real people live, which is turning digital wealth into a real world risk. As the scams become more sophisticated, attackers increasingly become willing to cross into the physical world. It's a good reminder that we should all think about our entire security posture, as Wade and Sarah said. We're going to drop some links to the Bloomberg coverage on these attacks, as well as Elliptic State of Crypto Scams report in the show notes, and you can read through all those details on yourself. For now, I think we're going to jump over to Crash Course. Wade, do you want to take us through Model Context Protocol?
Yes, some MCP.
Please.
Completely change the subject. All right. So now I think as we move to Crash Course, right, I want to dive deeper into something I think we're going to be talking about more and more on the show, and that's MCP. The short of it is Model Context Protocol. Wow.
Okay. Before you get into this, though, can we talk about where people are going to have heard this? Because I keep hearing about MCP servers and MPP, and I'm like, yes, we do stuff with that. And I have no idea. Like, I'm like totally faking. So, like, where are people here? Like, when people hear these initials, what are we talking about when we hear them? And then what do they actually mean?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Perfect. So at a high level, MCP is the standardization way for AI models to connect to apps, services, and data. And it's an open standard that was developed by Anthropic, the folks who make Claude, and later donated it to the Linux Foundation, which is pretty cool of them. I think of it as the arms and legs of the AI tools, right? So here's the problem that MCP solves is for a long time, large language models, usually just like a big chat window. You put stuff into them, stuff comes out. Great. You have information. You don't have to write your review at the end of the year because you had it read it for you type of deal. MCP's changed that where that gives the AI the structure and the secure way to interact with the rest of the environment and things like APIs, databases, cloud services, and internal tools. Without everything being hard-coded. Think about normally when you mess around with a REST API, if I'm writing it in Python, I'm going to have to hard-code every exact single thing that my automation does. The MCP allows for the AI to do that without me having to do all the work of programming it. It gives it all the information and guardrails that it also follows to make that stuff work.
Nice. So when it does all of this, the AI tools then can also action on that information? Is it like, so it's letting the tools organize things better. It's a better filing cabinet, I guess.
Yeah.
And then can it also like be an automated filing cabinet where it can actually then help the tool take action to do things like when you're saying like write the performance review and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, precisely. I think it writes your performance review, then submits it as well. So then you don't have to do anything. Reads all your Jira tickets too. So you know exactly what you did. So that's pretty much exactly what I think of it as, like instead of a filing cabinet, more of a toolbox where it can go and grab each individual tool and then start building the house, right? So the AI agent can perform all these tasks and real world workflows on your behalf, like analyzing the data, triggering deployments or querying systems or automating repetitive tasks usually. Think of it less as a chatbot, like we're saying, more as the AI assistant that can actually go off and do stuff, which we do have a very good blog post about AI assistants on 1Password if you have not read that. Nice. Under the hood, an MCP has two main components, and the names are refreshingly literal, so I don't have to say model context protocol again. First, you have the MCP host, where this is where the large language model lives, something like GPT-4 or Claude. Inside that host is the MCP client, which acts like a translator. It talks to the model, chooses when to call different tools or format requests for the MCP, right? So when it's going to grab each tool out of the toolbox, for to say, if we keep using the same analogy. Then you've got MCP servers. These are the lightweight programs that sit on the other side and accept the request from the MCP client. They say, cool, I know how to talk to this system because it's making the request using the MCP. In practice, that could be a cloud service or an internal app or data of some source.
Yeah,
Nice.
so it's kind of like giving AI this universal translator. Instead of having to teach it how to speak to every system with its own language, and every single tool in its own language, you can put these MCP servers up, and it just completely levels the playing field.
Yes, it's if you know what the Babelfish is from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? The universal translator. That's the perfect way to put it. MCP creates the consistent bridge between your AI assistant and the system it needs to interact with. That's huge for security and governance perspective. Instead of a free-form integration where you're not sure what the AI can access or change, MCP lets you define the actual boundaries clearly. And this isn't theoretical either at 1Password. We've already put this into practice with our MCP servers for 1Password SaaS Manager to securely, programmatically enable agentic AI systems and LLM-based tools to consume read-only data from 1Password SaaS Manager that helps folks surface potential issues and automate workflows without handing over the keys to the kingdom. That's really the promise of MCP. AI that's powerful, but also predictable and permissioned and secured by design.
Nice. I think the takeaway for me, which again, I'm not a developer, so it's a little bit different, but it sounds to me like we've had all of this really great networking and all of these great cables, but like we're finally putting some plumbing in place so that now we have indoor plumbing and we have like proper routes for these things to go. So it's like, it's not necessarily something that I'm going to see on a daily basis because it's kind of behind the drywall, but it's going to have a huge impact to how quickly things can get done and just the overall routing and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. MCP might not seem flashy, but it's foundational. As AI moves from more of helpful assistant to autonomous coworker, protocols like this are what keep things from going off the rails pretty much. So the next time you hear someone say, AI just deployed that, or the model fixed it automatically, there's a good chance someone is using something like an MCP to do the heavy lifting behind the scenes for that.
That's very cool. I think it's a really good primer for model context protocol and how they work and how they fit into the world of AI. And all of this moves us perfectly onto our next part of the show and my chat with Will Gardner from Childnet. In this conversation, Will shares some incredible research from Childnet, and it really gave me, and hopefully it'll give you too, a greater understanding of how children and young people are using AI today and the things that we as parents, guardians, teachers can do to help them use and navigate it safely. So I think without further ado, Anna will likely just drop it in here. Today's guest is Will Gardner, the CEO of Childnet, a charity that's been working for decades to help make the internet a safer, more empowering place for children and young people. Childnet is also heavily involved in Safer Internet Day, which took place earlier this month. Of course, the theme for 2026 was AI and giving children guidance on how to use AI safely and responsibly. Today, Will's joining us to talk about what children really understand about AI, how families can have better conversations about it, and the practical steps we can all take to help kids use AI safely. Will, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Ruth.
So, when parents hear AI safety today, I think that they often think of scary edge cases. From your perspective, what are the everyday ways that children are already interacting with AI?
So we did some research for Safer Internet Day, and we did some focus group research prior to that. And young people are engaging with AI in a number of different ways. Technologically wise, Voice assistants for the younger ones is the most obvious way. And if you look at the most common ways young people interact with AI, it's about voice assistants, search results, and so on. But there's a decent proportion of young people who are using standalone services like ChatGPT, and they're coming across it in online games, and it's obviously embedded within social media. So there's different ways that young people are coming across it. And if they're not using it, interacting with it directly, then they're definitely seeing this AI generated content, which is out there. So it's part of the online experience. And some young people were saying that they are they're using AI more than they were 6 months ago. So it does seem like there's a building up of a momentum around this and a spread of the technology. So we should be really thinking about, when we think about young people's online experience, we should be thinking about AI within that. If I'm going to think about what are the uses that they're using it, the majority of times young people say they do use it for schoolwork. That's the primary function. But the second to that would be, they use it for fun and for games. And there are different other aspects where it is, from day-to-day items for creativity, like what should I wear? Or sometimes is, I've got a tricky situation amongst my peer group and I need to send a message. Can you help? So AI is becoming kind of embedded into the social interactions that young people are having with each other. Obviously, in the news, we've heard a lot about companionship and friendship, and that does feature in our research. We've got about 17% of young people say they use AI as a kind of companion and a friend in that way. So that is there too. So it's there, it's increasing. There's a wide range of ways that young people interact with it. A lot of it is to support studies, but there are some other issues that we need to be thinking about when young people are engaging with this technology.
In my household, I am seeing it mostly in two main ways. One is the search results that you mentioned, right? The new AI summaries that appear at the top of search engines. Those are just taken as rote when they get reported. My family members, I'm finding, will just echo those things as like, oh, here's the answer to this.
Yes.
My question is always, did you click on any of the links? Did you verify that content? Because that might be hallucinations. And then the other one is my daughter pointing out videos that her grandfather sends her that are obviously AI. That's the other one where she goes, Granddad's sending me AI videos again that he thinks are real. I'm surprised to hear that 17% number is very high for children who are using LLMs, AI as companions, though.
Yeah, it's well, it's interesting, and this is an issue which, if we move on to where the areas of concern are, this is an issue which has certainly been flagged up in the last 6 months to 12 months. When we ask young people about that particular point, we've got about 41% say, that can be actually quite useful to have that kind of emotional support, somebody you can use. And there were some young people who were saying, I needed some affirmation before I went into my exams, and it was quite nice to get that interaction. And obviously it's a shame that that's not coming from a person to person bit, but it could serve a purpose. And there were some other comments we had in our focus group work where young people were saying, well, with access to mental health services being very difficult, this does provide something within that space. But at the same time, we've got, exactly the same percentage of young people, slightly higher, 45%, saying that they're worried about the level of emotional reliance. Might be overstating it, but the level that young people are using this for emotional support.
Yeah, for sure. Are there other areas where parents and teachers are worried? I know that at the beginning it was very much like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a cheating tool. Look at this new cheating tool. That also feels like it's calmed down a little bit. What's the research telling us here in terms of how people are responding?
So, AI is an amazingly helpful tool for schoolwork. You can see that, and young people are very positive about how that can be helpful and support the work that they're doing. Clearly, they have concerns about their peers using that and cheating and getting ahead, submitting AI as homework. And there is interesting, got over half of young people saying that they're worried that their school is going to suspect that their homework is actually being done by AI. So you can see that it does erode the kind of relationship of trust between young people and the school in both directions, actually, which is interesting for us to keep an eye on. And I think there is that area of the expression I've come across more recently is cognitive offloading, where it's where young people's almost like delegating their learning to AI, and so they're not doing the learning themselves. They're using AI and not benefiting from that process in that same way. And I think there is a recognition amongst young people themselves that this is an area that they are concerned about. But there are other concerns, and for parents and teachers particularly, there is that those concerns are mirrored about it impacting on young people's learning and development. There are concerns about chatbots and emotional dependency, particularly from parents and carers coming in. We've got about 49% of parents and carers worried about the connection their young person might have with AI, and we've got about 35% who are really particularly concerned about that. The other areas that parents are concerned around manipulation of images of their child. And we've got about 2/3 of parents and carers who are worried about that. And that reflects quite closely to what young people's own concerns are. So there's a hodgepodge of things that people are worried about. And, add it into the soup of the general technological concern. I don't think, I've been working at Childnet for 25 years now. And in the last year, 2 years, I don't think the levels of parental concern around their child's use of technology has been higher than it is at the moment. And that spans across technology more broadly and obviously encompasses social media. But AI is another ingredient into that mix. And I think the newness of AI and the fact that it does seem like it's so revolutionary that none of us quite know where it's going to take us. And I think that's just going to be a live concern that parents and carers are going to be having. And it means that we absolutely need to be talking with our children and young people about this as a topic now. We can't wait until the AI revolution has been completed. We need to be engaging with young people on this topic because they are living and breathing this. As I said, it is a part of their online experience.
What do you think makes this particular, I would say, like pivot in technology different from a safety perspective than what we've seen in the past with the explosion of the internet and everything else? For those of us who've lived through pre-internet times to internet times, there was a similar sort of conversation around the explosion of internet availability, but this also feels different. Why do you think that is?
I think it builds on some existing concerns that we have already, but I think the fundamental difference is the fact that it is so human-like in its nature, and we can see even over the last number of years that ChatGPT kind of launched upon us, that the nature of the images, even the video, and the conversations that you can have with AI are becoming harder and harder to discern between what's like human and what's not. And so when we think about the risks facing young people online, they've been categorized into 4 C's. So there's contact risks when young people are engaging with people online, content, what they might see online, conduct, how young people's own behavior can put themselves at risk, and commerce. And AI can interact with all of those different features. You can put like the content, the fact that content is so real, it's very hard to determine what's AI generated and what's fact. And for misinformation and disinformation and for broader topics like democracy, obviously that's hugely important. But it also has a bearing on the contact, the emotional connections. Are you always remembering that you're engaging with AI rather than a human when the voice is so real that you're speaking with? I mean, it's actually a voice and it stutters like a human does. It laughs at jokes, that it amplifies some of those risks. And obviously bad actors can be using AI to their own benefit, even if you're thinking about scams, becoming more sophisticated, and how young people need to be, and adults alike, need to be more on their guard in relation to these types of risks, because AI has just added an extra level of realism to it.
Yeah. Are these risks theoretical still, or are you hearing from parents and teachers that some of these things are already happening out in the world?
So these risks are are real. I think the assumption is that these risks were going to happen, and they've started to happen. And measuring them is something which will come in due course. But certainly, from our research, if we're talking about the manipulation of images, for example, this was something that we had research on about 8, 9 years ago. We know that young people had seen their peers modifying images to make them appear sexual. Back in the Photoshop days, or they'd be doing that behavior. Now AI has really facilitated that behavior. This is a live issue that I think we just anticipate will get worse unless the guardrails and the technologies can be sophisticated enough to try and help prevent this from happening.
Yeah. How difficult do you think it is for parents and teachers to find trustworthy advice around AI? Is this something that there's some go-to resources for, or is it still sort of difficult to find that guidance?
So we asked parents and carers where they got their advice, and it was a bit of a mixed bag. And in the end, Google came out quite high up in terms of where they would go to try and find this type of information. So I think there is a lack of a reliable source for parents and carers. And I guess that, we're organizing Safer Internet Day. It's on February the 10th. And the goal is to try and stimulate conversations in households and in schools about children's use of AI. And it's not designed as, scary day. This is a day for us just all to panic. This is a day to have, conversations about this technology, to listen to children and young people about the way that they're using it, but for positive use, as well as the risks that they're concerned about, and to try and make sure that we are engaging with young people on this topic. And there are resources that we've made available. Just look at saferinternetday.org.uk. There's quizzes, there's education resources, and we've got that. We've developed resources for educators working with children who are 11 plus, but also as young as 3 to 7 and 7 to 11, because this engagement with AI, even if it's not Gen AI, even if it's voice assistant like Siri or Alexa, it's still AI to a degree. And there is that element of remembering what you're engaging with, and the fact that what you're being told still needs to be checked and might not be true, even at this kind of low level. And so we've put a lot out there. There are other sources of information, and certainly we're starting to see the providers of this technology put advice out about, ChatGPT put something, OpenAI put something out recently. So I think that is something we would be expecting to see. But it's really important. Parents and carers play a key role. If children are worried about something in relation to AI, the first people they would go to by a mile would be their parents and carers. And so, parents and carers have a job to do. They might not be aware of that they've got this job to do, but they have this job to do as a source of support for children and young people in this space.
Yeah. In the research that you did with children on this topic, what were some of the key findings that came out?
I think I'll start with the positives. Young people are really, they see, most young people see this as a real positive aspect. They see opportunities coming. They see how it, can make their life easier. There's a real recognition about how it can be supportive for educational impacts and so on. So I think when we talk about technology, it's quite easy to get drawn into the negatives. And we used to have this this cartoon from years and years ago, saying like a child saying to a parent, "What's the biggest risk that there is online?" And the answer is the biggest risk is that you forget about the positives and you just focus on the negatives. And I think it's important for us to try and keep that in mind when we talk about the bad stuff that is there too. So I think that number one, I'd probably say the young people are engaging with this technology, and overwhelmingly the majority find it's a positive thing. I think it's also fair to say that most young people would disagree with the statement that they would turn to AI if they had a problem that they needed to talk to someone about. Most would disagree, and it'd be a person that they would go to first. But on the flip side, AI is performing that role for some young people, and it's really important that we recognize that for what it is, and we are working with young people to remind them about the limits that the role that technology can play within that. It's not designed in that way. In a friendship, you have positive affirmation, but you might have disagreement and rejection of ideas, all in the bounds of, a friendship can include being a critical friend. AI is not quite like that. It will be more, telling you what you want to hear, very affirming in that sense. And so I think we need to be working to make sure that young people are properly understanding that technology is there, but also recognizing that young people have an experience to share too. We've got 46% in our research, 46% of young people said that they felt AI was safe for children. So I think there is that recognition that sometimes quite often when we talk about online safety, it's like something we need to talk to children about, but actually it's something we need to talk with children about. This is an experience that they're already within. They've got things that they know, and clearly we can still help support, but it's an important job for us to listen to what young people are already doing in that space to better inform the conversations that we can have with them.
The way you're talking about it, it's very much an extension of the roles and responsibilities of a parent with anything in the world. How to cross the street safely, how to not get in a van that says free candy on the side. There's these are conversations to have to help them navigate this place.
No, absolutely. And the conversations is such a powerful tool, but both to get a degree of understanding about what your children know, get a sense of what is it they're worried about, and for those types of conversations, there are ways in which you can have it that doesn't feel like I'm talking about you, because there are so many examples you can depersonalize it with. It could be films that you've seen where AI is starting to appear more and more. It could be content that you've seen. You can make judgments. Do you think that's real or not real? Or it could be stories, stories about, even deep fakes. Think about Taylor Swift and other examples where this has happened. You can talk about that in quite a depersonalized way. But the value is also that children then understand that they can come and talk to you if they're worried about this technology, because they know that you can talk about it. This is as simple as that. So when we organize Safer Internet Day, we know that when we asked educators, 51% said that talking about online safety led to young people coming forward and disclosing potential online safeguarding issues to their teacher. And so the logic is that if the school can say, we can talk about this, then young people feel emboldened and confident to come forward and talk about things that they're worried about within that space. And that's absolutely true for parents and carers as well. If parents and carers can say, we can talk about this. And I think there is a way in which you do talk about this and depersonalizing things. And in our sessions with parents and carers, we're always saying, be curious, not furious. It's because if young people do say things which can be shocking, and you might be surprised or caught off guard, and there is obviously a gut reaction sometimes to things that you might hear. It is just being calm, because that's absolutely what young people are wanting. Not wanting to be judged or shamed or so on. They're wanting somebody just to listen, and then being there to support them, whatever it is that they might have done.
You mentioned Taylor Swift earlier. Are there examples that parents can give to get their kids more invested? Is this storytelling method seems like it's a strong hook. Are there other stories that people should be leaning on? That one certainly resonated with me as you mentioned it.
So I think there are news stories happening which involve AI all the time. And that's a very easy way to depersonalize that. But there are also stories you can use. There was a time where technology didn't appear in children's storybooks, and I always thought that children surrounded by technology would think that just slightly odd, that it doesn't really reflect what's going on. I think there's ways in which you can use stories, because stories are something that young children are obviously very familiar with as a form of engagement and a communication between parents and child that can be quite natural, and questions can arise from both sides in relation to that. So I think that's a very powerful way, and I'd really encourage parents of young children to use that as a method. But outside of that, there's the interactions with the families. Where what have you seen? I saw this, and it's I was sent this. I saw this on social media. What do you think? Is it real or is it not? And it's really about teeing up the strategies and skills you need to analyze whether something is real or not real within that space in an environment where actually things which are unreal actually are very credible in the way they look.
Yeah, I have found that to be really effective in our household, is sort of voicing our critical thinking. Like if I am doing something, like, I use ChatGPT fairly often in both work and home, and if I'm putting something in to it or I'm getting results from it, I will call out when it's hallucinating, or I will call out, I'm building this thing with ChatGPT, but I'm not giving it this information because that would be an overreach. Like if you can normalize talking about it in that way and sort of expose your own inner monologue about how you're doing this, I have found that to be a really nice way for kids to just sort of like pick up enough little details here to start mirroring that on their own.
I think that's a great approach. Encouraging, not to take what you've just seen or read and to apply critical thinking. Check elsewhere, see what other ways you can look. And sometimes, on social media, you look at the comments to see what other people are saying in relation to some of the things that you've seen. It's tricky, and we kind of need to be continually developing our skills and being that critical thinker within that space. And the challenge I think we have is probably to keep that critical thinking without just becoming cynical, where everything becomes, you can classify anything as not real.
Are there any things that came out of the research that really surprised you? Anything that just stood out?
I think what I got the sense of, is how actually a lot of what young people are saying reflects the type of conversations that adults are having about how they see, this is hugely exciting technology and how the benefits could be incredible, but at the same time there are real concerns, and those concerns are real, and there was a real sense of, I won't say maturity, but the same sense that young people have. So they might be really optimistic about, how knowing about AI will be really important for their future, as when they become adults, that's going to be a key skill. But at the same time, about half of them are worried about, well, what's the impact on job opportunities that AI is going to have for me? And it's the same conversations that we are having that are absolutely reflected by young people. And there is a recognition that it doesn't feel safe, and that more needs to be done within that safety space. And I think there's kind of a clear demand from children and young people. Half of them say we want more lessons about this in school, about the safe and responsible use of AI. This is really important, and we want to know about it. There is that feeling that industry and government should be doing more to try and help make these spaces be safe for children and young people. And so I think this is a live issue, and from the research, I've really got the sense that young people want more to be done in this space.
Yeah, I can see that, and it's encouraging to hear that that's something that they're asking for.
Definitely young people do want to hear about that, and I think that should be an encouragement to parents and carers. Sometimes parents and carers don't think that their children want to have their parent come and talk to them about AI and safety and this type of thing. But in fact, there is an appetite for this. Young people do want to be safe online. There is our hope is that Safer Internet Day can be a real stimulus, not only for parents and carers to have this conversation, but for children and young people to be inspired to go and talk to their parents and carers about this technology, because many of the issues actually affect adults as well as children and young people. And you can think about the manipulation of images just as one point.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to move into some advice. We've discussed how people are using AI right now. If a family wanted to start one good AI conversation at home this week, what's a simple in for that conversation? What do you think is a good sort of like kickoff conversation or kickoff topic?
I think there's a number of different ways to go in, and you obviously depends on the age of your child. But I think you could, very broad. Like, what do you think about it? How are young people using AI? Just to get a sense of, an opportunity for upward learning for the parent or carer, kind of put the young person in the driving seat a little bit. And What do you use it for? What's the benefits of it? But also, what are you worried about? What are the concerns? Because there are opportunities for parents and carers to say, well, this is the type of thing I've heard about that I'm worried about, but what are your concerns too? So I think it's one of those issues around online safety, and there are quite a few of them where it's almost like a shared problem. Like we're all getting our head around this new technology. This is what I know. What do you know? What can we both do to try and make sure that we use this safely and responsibly? What are your worries and how can we manage those? And reminding young people that you're there for that, be that source of support. So I think there's lots of really easy ins for this, but I would absolutely approach it as a kind of almost on equal footing. This incredible new technology. What do you think? This is what I think, and what can we both do in order to try and make this better?
Yeah, I think that, and you mentioned this earlier, like the not getting into, certainly not yelling about it, but also like not turning it into a lecture. I think is also probably pretty critical for it to be a conversation.
I think so, and I think there are some ways that where you have to be a bit careful about how you have the conversation. Where you don't want to. Sometimes there's easy statements to make, like I don't know what all the fuss is about this AI business, which kind of shuts off the conversation before it's got started. And so it is kind of building up to in a very neutral. So what do you think? This is what I think. And type way of really allowing young people to express themselves in this space. And like exactly as you said, go in with that curiosity and hold back the judgment. There's absolutely space for parents to have their opinion and good advice within that. But I think in the way of keeping an ongoing conversation is really key.
Are there any rules that you think parents or teachers should put in place around AI? I feel like it's sort of an untapped part of the conversation so far. That there should be limits on this tool. Like, do you recommend banning certain types of AI tools, or do you think that just sort of like encourages kids to go and find their own workarounds?
Yeah, it's a really important question, and there are, many of these tools and services do have age restrictions, and that's something for parents and carers to be aware of. It's not often like kind of a passport entry age restriction, but it does provide information for parents and carers to get a sense of, well, what's appropriate for my child to be using or what's not. So I think that's something I would say. I think for the younger children, I would absolutely make it that if children wanted to use AI tool, that they would come and talk to you about it first. So parents are involved in the use in that way. I think there are some issues around, and I hate saying this word because I can never say it, anthropomorphizing of AI. Where, yeah, we got it. Thank you. Took a deep breath, counted to 3 before I started. I think where it is voice and it sounds very real, or it has a very human or avatar-like face, and I think that does make it more confusing in the conversations. Well, you just have to keep reminding young people, if they are using that type of technology, that it is what it is. It might seem like it has emotions and empathy and is a friend, but it isn't. It's technology, and I think that's really hard, particularly for younger ones. But it's a message that would keep going all the way through. You have to remember what that technology is. So ban or not ban. So young people have got some strong opinions on this and actually are quite divided. We did ask the question to young people, do you think under 16s should be able to use chatbots? And particularly like 12 to 14, it's exactly the same percentage agreed as disagreed on that point. So I think it does allow for an interesting conversation to be had at home on that very topic.
I think the other one that's really critical for people to be having with their children is the conversation around data sharing and the stuff that you provide to these tools. How can adults navigate that part of the conversation? What are the things that the key points they should be sure to hit?
For that, I think it's quite similar to the advice parents and carers will be giving to their kids more broadly about using technology, and that is to keep your personal information private. Your contact details, or there's a you should always almost be interacting with this technology as though it's a stranger. It's this type of advice that we would give to children and young people. I think that's a really important one, and it can be a kind of a data gathering tool, and so we need to be mindful of that, keeping your personal information safe is the advice we'd give.
For parents who might feel less confident with AI than their kids, or sort of feeling like their kids are already outpacing them, what can they do to still be effective guides in this space?
So I think we'd always say to parents and carers, and this obviously doesn't relate to AI, but with all other areas of children's technology use, is that you don't have to be experts, but you need to be involved. And your young people may know more about the technology than you, but you can find sort of top tips, advice. It is out there. There's lots of good advice for parents and carers, and I mentioned stuff on the website that we have for Safer Internet Day. There's advice there, but you can find that to inform you to the level you need to be informed. But ultimately, it's about having conversations with your children and young people. So I think for parents and carers who can feel quite alone, all parents and carers are going through the same issue. Children and young people engaging with this technology, and so there are people that you can draw from, probably in your social circle, but also there's advice online or from organisations that you can find, and probably your child's school will have advice on this as a particular topic. So it's one of those things where you don't have to be an expert, but there's things you can access that will enable you to be equipped to have good conversations with your child, and there's lots of resources out there that can help you.
Are there any, if we talk about sort of like green flags, red flags, are there any green flag behaviors that families should really encourage their kids to use when they use AI, and maybe even a few red flags that signal it's time for parents to dig in and have a deeper conversation?
I think the key element within this is about critical thinking. Critical thinking is essential to manage all online risk, whatever that might be, whether that be content, contact. You need to have that critical thinking, and AI has heightened that need for critical thinking, where seeing is no longer believing. We have to give a critical eye to everything which is out there. Rue, you were talking about, grandparents sharing content. I think it's very common, that we actually have that in our household, and there is that opportunity for young people to be educators upwards within this circle. For the red flags, I think it's about, parents are closest to children. They'll be the ones who will pick up signs where things don't seem right. And in relation to technology, that could appear like spending more time, being more secretive in their use of technology. I think there's things where you might just be able to just pick something up and then just look for opportunities to check in and say, are things okay? And then for that type of conversation, it's quite often good to try and find opportunities where you're not necessarily face to face, but where you might be side by side, whether you might be in a car driving or going for a walk or wherever, because that can enable these conversations to be more fruitful than physically otherwise. You know what I mean? So that would be a piece of advice I'd share.
The car ride trick is an expert one. Gosh, I can't tell you the number of times that we've had some pretty great conversations, even unprompted, that have just happened because we happen to be in a car at the same time together, just me and the kids. It's awesome. I'll tell you what, if people take away just one tip, it's go take more drives with your kids. I'm amazed at what you learn.
Yeah.
Okay, I am an eternal optimist, so I always like to end on high notes when we have conversations like this. What gives you the most hope when you listen to children talk about AI and as you've gone through all of this research?
It's incredible technology. It will have amazing benefits. And I think that the key message I want to say is, we need to be talking about this more, and young people want to talk about this more. And I think that is kind of the ultimate thing that I want to do. And in a way, it's almost like the easiest tool that we have. And it's one of the most powerful tools that we have, where we can just continue to keep having, or start having conversations about young people's use of this technology. I think we see the benefits, young people see the benefits, but there are concerns. And the technology is changing very fast and it's moving very quickly. I think that can be unnerving and unsettling to people. So I think that the key message is, let's keep talking about this. There is work and talk around regulation and safeguards and industry doing more within that space and schools doing more. And we are seeing movements there. But in the meantime, it's really important for us to be making sure that we're having those conversations and making sure that young people feel that they are supported in these spaces which they are using.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I've already given my one thing that people should take away from this conversation. What is the one thing that you want parents, guardians, caregivers to take away from this conversation?
I'd want parents and carers to think that they're not alone dealing with this. And this is something we say in the sessions we run in schools talking about online safety with parents and carers, because somehow it can seem quite isolating that this is just your household, your child. But in fact, this is something which the data we're bringing out, say for Internet Day, 97% of children are using AI in some form. This is happening. So that is, you're not alone. There are other parents who are dealing with this as an issue. There are schools are talking about this as an issue, and there are organizations who are out there who are working to support parents and carers in this space. So I would really encourage parents and carers to use Safer Internet Day as an opportunity, as a moment to begin these conversations. It's just the beginning. It's not the one moment to have the conversation. Hopefully it's the moment to start conversations, to continue them, or to continue conversations that you're already having. But my message would be that you're not alone, and there are people out there who can help.
I think that's a great one. Where can people go to find ChildNet's resources and continue learning together?
So we have a website, childnet.com, where there is lots of educational resources about a whole wide range of different online issues. And, we've been working in this space for 30 years. We've got resources for parents and carers with very young children, with children with special educational needs and disabilities. There's a whole wide range of stuff. For the AI content around Safer Internet Day specifically, we have top tips for parents and carers. We have quizzes. You can go to saferinternetday.org.uk and you can find everything there, including the research that we've released on the day.
Nice. Excellent. Well, Will, this was wonderful. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure, Roo.
Awesome. Well, that was a great interview. Big thank you to Will and ChildNet for working with us on this episode. And hopefully there have been some tips and takeaways out there for any teachers, parents, or carers that are listening. Now we're going to move on to Ask One Password. And this week we have a question from Jackson who says, "Hey, random but memorable. This is a question for Wade. In a recent episode, you talked about network segmentation. I've never done this before, but I would love to give it a try. Where should I begin?"
Yeah, you should probably begin on your home Wi-Fi router. So depending on the level in which your router is made, right? Not all of them are made equal. You should have the ability to do this. Logically, this is separating the networks programmatically, but not physically. So having several different Wi-Fis that will all reach the internet, but not necessarily be able to talk to each other across. So think about, north and south, but not east and west traffic. Usually to do this, you are going to have to buy a more expensive router. I think we talked about this in last time with Rue and I. I use a Ubiquiti home system, which is mildly expensive, but allows you to do a lot more changes and create, I don't even know how many, but a lot of networks and be able to section off and protect your environment a little bit more.
Nice.
Definitely have to do research on your tools. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think that even just that, like the beginning, it's like plumbing and all of that. Like you've got to make sure your foundation's done right. Like the east-west thing and north-south, like I appreciate when people put things into terms where I'm like, yes, I understand. that makes much more sense than the other thing I was trying to do. So,
Yeah.
So Jackson, I hope that helps you get started on looking at network segmentation in your house, and give it a try and let us know how it goes. And for everyone else out there, if you've got a question that you'd love for us to answer in a future episode, send an email or a voice note over to podcast@onepassword.com. Alternatively, you can leave a comment on our forums over at onepassword.community. We always love hearing from you and being able to help our listeners out with anything they might like to know.
So we revealed our brand new security game on the last episode, but Wade, you were not with us at that time. So how are you feeling about your first time playing the new game?
I don't have a good track record of games. I think last time Sarah destroyed me, so I guess we'll see how this goes.
All right. Well, if anyone missed it, this season's game is called Identity Theft. And let's take it away with the jingle.
It's identity theft. Guess who they're claiming to be? Fire your yes or no questions for security and catch that fake ID.
Gosh, these jingles they really hit. All right. Welcome to Identity Theft. Identity pending access, maybe? I don't know. Here's how this works. I, the host, am secretly pretending to be a well-known person, celebrity, or fictional character. The rest of the players can ask me yes or no questions to narrow down who I am. At any point when you think you know who I am, you can buzz in. But here's the catch. To buzz in, you either have to shout single factor or multi-factor. If you shout single factor, that means you can name who I am. Get it right, you earn 1 point. If you shout multi-factor, you have to name who I am and give 2 correct facts about me. If you can pull that off, you earn 2 points. As we said last week, we know this is not how multi-factor authentication works in real life, but it is a fun way to raise the stakes and remind everyone to turn MFA on whenever they can. If you guess incorrectly, you are locked out for 1 minute and play defaults to the other player. I'm going to give you 1 clue to begin with, and then you're on your own. All right, get ready to hit me with your questions and find out whose identity I have stolen today. So, your first and only clue today is I hold the Guinness World Record for the most amount of selfies taken in 3 minutes.
Are you
Okay,
a
see,
Kardashian?
already I'm like questions where I don't understand. Like selfies, like as in, poof, 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 or like selfies with other people.
I don't know.
Are you a Kardashian?
No.
Can I ask that? No.
Oh, are you a TV show host?
No. Not traditionally.
Someone who's going to take a lot of pictures with people. Are you royalty?
No.
Are you a previously held a political office?
No. Although I'm going to start to give, I'm going to endorse the answers a little bit. No,
right.
but
Okay.
others who have worked in my industry have moved into political office at times.
Are you a reality TV show?
No. Not
Okay.
not reality.
Not reality.
Maybe
Okay.
hyper reality.
Hyper reality.
So many commentaries. At
So
this point.
you're a TV star.
I have been on TV, yes, and I've been a star there.
Okay.
I'm gonna buzz because I don't know if I'm gonna buzz in.
I'm sorry, it's either single factor or multi-factor.
I'm gonna single factor it
Okay.
because
Okay,
I don't.
You're gonna try and guess. Go ahead.
I'm gonna try and guess. Are you James Corden?
No, I am not James
Okay.
Corden. And Sarah, please, you are silenced for the next minute.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Here we
That's
go.
okay.
Here we go.
Good. Okay.
All right. Now we're gonna go straight. Guess who? Are you male?
Yes.
Okay. Have you also been in movies?
Yes.
Oh man, this doesn't help. Are you between the ages of 1 and 30?
No.
Okay, you're old.
I'm
older.
In-
I'm older than that. Okay, I'm older than that too.
Yeah.
I'm class.
I mean,
All
I
right.
might look younger.
You might look younger?
I'm in great shape for my age.
Are you in a Marvel movie?
I've not been in a Marvel movie. No.
Man, that like crosses out like majority of the great shape actors.
Yeah.
Has it been a minute yet?
Yeah, you can go for
It's
it,
been a
Sarah.
minute. Yeah.
Has it? Are you been a Star Wars movie? Are you a Star Wars? Not like
No.
movie, but
No,
franchise.
I've never been in
okay.
Star Wars. No.
Are you from the U.S.?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Good looking.
There goes
you're
that. I
older,
guess and
you're,
that guess.
You take a lot of selfies.
I was born in Hayward, California.
Do you sing?
That's such a great question. I don't think that people would traditionally think of me as a singer, but I have been known to serenade people at times, and I did have a really large singing role in a film at one point.
Have you
Single
hosted
factor.
an Academy Awards or something? Oh,
Hang on,
good.
Wade.
Yes.
Wade said single factor. Go
Wade.
ahead.
Are you Bradley Cooper?
No, good guess though, but no, I'm not Bradley Cooper, who has been in a Marvel movie. So don't. Include
Oh, I didn't even think about it. Yeah, he voiced it. Gosh darn it.
Yeah. Yep. This is
I'm
great. Keep
really-
going. We're gonna get there. I know we're gonna get there.
I don't think we are. Okay, so we've got a male actor who occasionally sings. Of the movies,
sung.
are they like has sung? But are we? Was it an? I've sung in an animated movie and like was
Yes,
doing
I
a
did sing in
voiceover.
an animated movie, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Were you in Frozen?
I was not in Frozen. No. No.
Okay.
No, but I was in one of the more like modern Disney movies. Yeah.
Were you in Moana?
I was in Moana. Yes.
Single factor.
Are
single
you
factor.
also a bodybuilder?
Single factor.
Wade's got it with single factor.
Okay.
Are you Dwayne the Rock Johnson?
Oh, I am Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Yes.
Nice.
Sarah got it.
Nice.
Sarah with the Moana is what it was.
Sarah, wait, are you a
I was
bodybuilder?
I'm like, oh, let me. Well, I wasn't gonna risk guessing again and be wrong. I didn't want to do that.
Gosh.
I probably could have gone multi-factor on that one. I used to be an avid wrestling WWE watcher in my youth.
Yeah. So, The Rock singing on stage with a guitar, he's been when he's played the heel. When Anna sent me the doc for this, at the top of the doc, it says, "You are Dwayne the Rock Johnson." And I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to read that part, though. I'm not supposed to say that part. That's got to come afterwards.
That was a good one. I
like
did
that
not
one,
go
too.
that direction.
So with that, I think we can end our show today. A big thanks to everyone for listening and to Will from Childnet for joining us on the show. And we'll leave lots of links and for everything we discussed today in the show notes. Plus, please feel free to share the episode with friends, coworkers, family member if you think they would benefit from any of the discussion we've had today. And if you want to keep the conversation going or have any requests for future guests, you can head over to the 1Password community or comment, subscribe to Random But Memorable's YouTube channel.
Woo!
Right. Excellent. We'll catch you both later. Bye-bye.
As always.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. See you later.